Hi, this is MTB214. Thanks for coming by the channel. I just finished this book tonight, Essays and Sketches by Mark Twain, selected and with an introduction by Stuart Miller. I got this a few years ago actually, but I didn't read it until recently. It's sort of autobiographical and his musings about different things in life. Like my first line, how I got out of it, turning point in life, first literary venture of how he expected life to be one way and sort of turned out differently, and he got into writing and different things with that, and then a great literary figure of our day. He wrote about different things in America regarding history and different things about barbers that was sort of humorous, his sort of musings about life, how that go to a barbershop and they take their time, it takes forever, and you're late for other things. They sort of don't work quick like you'd want them to work was one thing. And different things like curing cold, different sort of remedies tried to go and nothing works. And there's all different sort of things here. Concerning the Jews, which I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, is how that it's amazing how the Jewish people have survived and made it through with history, all the persecution, and that they're still going strong. It was sort of amusing extracts from Adam's diary and Eve's diary, which was sort of his imagination of Adam and Eve and what they're going on. That's not in the Bible, sort of that Adam's more logical and Eve is more feeling, and that it was actually her naming the animals and he just goes with it. And about their love for each other, and that he's more of a strong silent type, not really showing emotion, but has great love for Eve. So that was sort of interesting. Taming the Bicycle was about with the bicycles that have a huge front wheel and a small back one, and he was learning how to ride that and having some trouble falling off, and to get the hang of that. Then he goes on, and other things I remember more clearly was about learning Italian, learning German. Italian had some trouble with, but German was terrible for him to learn, because if in Spanish or Italian there's words are feminine or masculine, but so say a young maid, a unmarried woman, unmarried woman is she, but when they're married, considered it. And different body parts, the eyes are masculine, the ears are feminine, the mouth is feminine. So it's all these different things. And also with different things, terms in the German language, very difficult. It seems like it was created just wishy-washy and not really with any logic to it. It was what he seems to go into. And then he writes about different authors throughout the ages, and was Shakespeare even a real person or not? And was it Francis Bacon or Kevin? Yeah, Francis Bacon, I'm pretty sure. Not Kevin Bacon, the actor. That he could have been the one to write Shakespeare's plays, and that Shakespeare doesn't have really much evidence of him existing, and that law is a major subject in his plays, which is they're very thoroughly written about that, he would know about this. The first writing machines chapter is about with him getting a typewriter when it first came out, and I did the math and looked it up. So it was I think $200. In today's money, it would be like $3,000. It's like buying like Apple computer, and how it was more like a hassle at first, but then like he figured it out and had help with it, and like when he had guests over, that they'd be like, oh, like look at this thing. It's like a curiosity. Um, then he goes on about different things. Heidelberg Castle, which is in Germany, and about that like it's a sort of dilapidated but still has beauty to it. Above that, like chambermaids and the port here, which is like being in hotels in Europe. The chambermaids, like you go out to do about your day, and then they move everything around. Like you move stuff in your hotel room, they move stuff back, and this and that, and like it makes it a pain. And the portier, which is sort of like your go-to guy if you're at a hotel, like you want to like get tickets for an opera or this or that, and have questions about things in the area there. They If they don't know, they're gonna find it out very shortly and like help set you up. So they're sort of like an assistant at the hotel and help out. And their pay wages is different than in America. So it's like that they get paid at the end by you, and it's more like a fixed amount. So like they they work hard for you. It's sort of complicated. And then a college prison is about that in Germany, and I think like in other places in Europe. So there's like you do some crime and you're a student, then like you don't go to jail like you do in America or somewhere else. Like, okay, you're under arrest, you're going to jail. They ask you, oh, like when are you available to serve your sentence? And it could be, oh, like I'm busy, I can go in on Saturday for the day to jail, which is sort of odd. And like that came from historically, like with the aristocracy, that and like other high up people, that like you don't want to disturb them from what they're doing, so you like sort of like let them do it on their schedule. It's sort of interesting. And then he has about like all about all kinds of ships, of how like the different ships of the past were like had rats and roaches and disgusting and small, and the food was terrible. And then over time to like his time, late 1800s, early 1900s, they became beautiful. Like you go on a cruise ship, it's nice and quiet, it's not crammed, you have space, you have good food, you have entertainment, all sorts of things. It was much nicer. The danger of lying in bed, that he goes about saying, it's nearly end. He goes about saying how, oh, he goes about saying how traveling, like it's safer to go take trains than to be at home, because like you read in the paper about accidents with trains, and like if he should get like traveler's insurance to be safe. He didn't for such a long time. Then he got it, and like he never had any problem. And he probably over 3 years he traveled 60,000 miles by train. I travel about that much by car. By car in 3 years, about 20,000 miles a year. I travel about the same, but that's by car and not train. But like he said that more people die like laying in bed from something than traveling on a train. It's not as dangerous as would think. As well as like ships aren't dangerous; they're a lot safer. And then he ends with my boyhood dreams, about not just, he didn't really go on to about his own like goals and dreams as a kid, but like other people. But at the end of that chapter, it's sort of like, oh, like those people that he mentions, he's like, oh, like we met him, but we didn't tell him anything about our goals and dreams and hopes. And like if you would say something in confidence, you wouldn't want it published and let out. But he basically goes to say like everyone has dreams when they're young, and just about no one has them come to fruition. Life isn't what you expect. And then the burlesque biography, he doesn't really talk about himself. He talks about his ancestors starting like the 1100s AD. And then like, you know, one was a missionary to the Native Americans, others were like, you know, ship captains, and had different sort of careers, all sorts of things over the centuries. And it ends with like the death of Jean, which is one of his daughters who was in a sanitarium, which is like a hospital, and she had epilepsy, like seizures, so her health wasn't good. And then she goes to stay with him for some time, and like, you know, everything was fine. And about like her passing and how it hurt him, and like his wife had passed previously and other of his children, so like he feels the pain of that, but he also feels some solace that like their spirits are still with them in the house. So like the home is a sacred place, which I agree with. And if like, you know, someone passes there, their sort of like spirit lingers and is like, you know, by your side, keeping you company in a way. So he's sort of like, you know, stays positive through the trials of life. And it was, I think, like a year or two after that that he passed away himself in his 70s. So overall, this book was very interesting. There's a lot of words, no pictures in here. Well, actually, there are a few pictures, which is closer to the beginning, about learning, like teaching his children and learning how to remember things. So like you draw a picture, like a little sketch, and you have dates and names, and then like, you know, you just repetition, and then after that you just have the picture to remember about the name and the date. And after a while, then like you don't even need the picture and you remember all this information. So like he used that device for himself with if he had to go and give some talk, some lecture, that he would like draw little pictures to help him remember, and then he would just expand upon that. And then he used that method to teach his children about with history, to remember all these facts and figures and dates. So this is a great book to read, very interesting. I definitely would suggest it to others. Thanks for watching, listening. Subscribe, comment, like, share the video with friends that are into literature. And thanks to all subscribers new and all. Take care. Bye.